Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance. Now, it's time to welcome two serial entrepreneurs, leaders, husbands, and fathers who are passionate about sharing the strategies that are helping them excel in life and in business. Here are Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey.
Thrilled, as always, to be able to do this podcast and be able to deliver what we consider a value. I hope you find it that way. And I am, as always, joined by my friend, mentor, partner, the great Hubert Humphrey. Hubert, happy to talk to you today, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Mauricio. It's great to be here with you and all the great driven, determined dreamers, those great entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs to share some great messages with them.
Absolutely. Hey, I find it just amazing how over the past 4 decades, just seeing what you've done, and I want to talk about marketing and fuse it with those successes of the past. When we talk about marketing, like nowadays, it's said that you have to be a great marketer in order to be able to grow your business. And going through a little bit of history and the things that you've done in the past, like in the 1980s, going out there and beating Prudential and just beating the next to 3 or 4 largest insurance companies in the world at their own game by not doing the way that they are doing marketing, but rather dream marketing, which is almost something that nobody talks about. Everybody talks about social media marketing, radio marketing, direct marketing, mail, all these type of marketing. And I've not seen anybody do what you did in the 80s with, obviously radio, TV was there, but you did it in a complete different way. And I want us to talk about marketing and the evolution of marketing over the past 40 years. But I just wanted to begin by saying that it was just amazing to see how using dream marketing. I'd like you to elaborate on that, because most people may be thinking, what are you talking about? What's dream marketing, and how can that build a sales force of 1 million people?
Right. Well, Mauricio, I'll even take it one more decade before that, which makes it about just under 50 years watching it, because even when I was still on the railroad wanting to escape, I was that driven, determined dreamer. I was fueled by this frustration of a job that I didn't want to have. I never planned to have it. I never planned to be working for the railroad. I went to Georgia Tech with 2 years. I made the dean's list one time. I was going to get a degree in engineering, go get me a big job with a corporation with benefits, and live the so-called American dream. Well, I come to find out later. I'm glad I missed it, but that's where I was headed. And I get trapped in a part-time job. It ends up being a 17-year career. But even in that last 6, 7, 8 years of that career, I got to looking at. I got to seeing these there's something called network marketing or multi-level marketing was in its infancy. And I started to hear about it, and it seemed like an alternative way that people like me who had jobs and frustration could have a little business on the side that didn't take much money and it didn't take much experience. So I started looking at it, and I looked at a couple of them. Some of them were more like pyramids and front-end load deals with big. I stayed away from them. But I saw Amway. Most everybody on this call has probably seen or heard about Amway somewhere along the line. But I saw it in its infancy when it was only in 7 or 8 states. It was only 12, 15,000 people in the whole business, and it was just a baby. And now it's in hundreds of countries, and probably just short of 100 million people have been in it, and probably 1 billion clients somewhere out there. But I saw it in its infancy, and so one of the things I have on my resume is that I have been there at the beginning of some of the largest revolutionary companies in the history of any kind of marketing. Mm-hmm. So I've got that in my DNA, and I watched it. But it was dream marketing then. Number one, it was just the people who built those companies, like Amway. And then when I met Art Williams I heard about it at the end of '77, and about a month later, I'm actually joined and January of 78, but Art is just only about 30 good people left with him. He started a little company, but he had this crusade and selling the dream. And it was pretty, you mentioned beating Prudential. I hate to use the word easy, but it was much easier than you would think for us to beat the Prudentials and all the other companies. And over the years, we just continued to dominate the industry with even the other companies. It's because we were selling dreams and they were selling insurance.
Wow.
And I promise you, multiplication, and we had a multiplication building system where they had a linear sales system. So multiplication is always going to be addition, and selling dreams is something that everybody wants. Buying something that they got to pay money for.
Yeah, I've got a question. Like when you have these huge companies with these unlimited resources, being like maybe the largest companies in the world, when they see something that is having success and maybe other smaller groups coming in and just beating them in their own game, why didn't they adapt to selling dreams? Why they kept on selling insurance? I don't know, just a question.
They're still selling insurance today. And I don't mean that people who sell insurance for these big companies, that's not a dream position. Some of those people love having a position being a career sales guy. So I'm not demeaning people who are selling.
Sure.
Selling is a noble profession, and being a merchant is a noble profession. It's just that
I think it's the best profession. It changed my life.
Oh yeah, you can't ask for a better industry to be in.
Yeah.
But there are some things here that we'll talk about in the course of this show today that you need to understand as an entrepreneur. Timing is everything in an entrepreneur's life. The vehicle that you're going to use to pursue your goals, is it a linear vehicle or is it a high-powered multi-level? Well, not multi-level, but multi-generational, multiples type machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's demographic inevitability, and then there's going to be you need to ask yourself: is the business you're in is it are you marketing something that people kind of just want? Is it some fad product, the hottest product? All of these businesses that I've watched over years, we never tried to sell some hot new item. We didn't chase some new deal, some new gimmicky deal. It was built to last. Everything. It was time-tested deal. Well, especially from what I learned in Amway, I took those building principles that I'd learned from Bill Campbell, who was the first triple diamond in Amway. I learned these principles. And he was an engineer. He was a no-nonsense guy. He wasn't a multi-level flaky kind of guy. He was a dead serious guy. But he brought a system, a building system. And luckily, I learned a little bit about it, tried it for 2 or 3 years, my last 2 or 3 years of Amway. And when I met Art Williams at the beginning of that company, that literally changed the insurance industry forever. Today, the industry that we see today, it was totally turned upside down for what we did there. But the key was that little system, a delivery system. It's like in the military. You can have a nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a missile that you can put it on, it's not going to go. It's not going to get out. You'll blow your own country up because you can't get it out of your country. You got to have a rocket ship, a missile that can take your warhead to your target. Well, the industry had a small missile with a big warhead. Well, we had this big warhead, but we had a system that could take it to the masses. And we were able to bring this recruiting and building system in there that had launched things like the Amway business. And we went and built the Amway, literally the Amway of insurance and mutual funds, if you want to call it that. Over the years, we did that. But let's look at the timing right quick and the demographics. The baby boomers, we all have heard of the baby boomers. And again, I'm saying this because today, the market conditions today, and this window, I'm going to jump ahead. The window of opportunity, an entrepreneur needs to always be on the lookout for windows that open up.
Sure.
Because first of all, we can't do anything. We cannot create windows. Windows get created by outside forces, economics, politics, worldwide demographics, catastrophes, you name it. All those things create windows of time for opportunity. And all we can do as an individual, as a potential entrepreneur, is to recognize that or join somebody that's good at recognizing them. And so the window's open now, and you understand when a window's open, a window can do two things. It can open and it can close. And so you got to know that you got to be prepared So when that window's open, you and or the people that you're hopefully aligned with are ready, prepared, got the vehicle to play. It's like when NASA's going to blast off a spaceship to go to the moon. Every once in a while they'll go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and all of a sudden they'll stop. Why? Because the window closed. In 10 seconds, the window closed. They had to wait 2 weeks before they go back and resume.
Right.
Because the window to blast off was gone. So you gotta watch for windows, and then you gotta strike and go through the windows and be in the right vehicle, in the right industry with the right products that are built to last. And that's the commonality of all the things I've been involved with over the years. And I challenge people to look at that. You know, and that happens in technology. That happens in all kind of businesses, medicines, and science.
Well, you know, one of the things that comes to mind is that if you look at like some of the successful entrepreneurs that are at the top of the Forbes list, like the multi-billionaires as well. And here's what I'm trying to say is that if you look at what's going on as an example, and we're fast forwarding to current times with social media and people selling the product, like selling the insurance or whatever products that are out there. It is really bombarded with all these different types of products and they are great products. But the real millionaires, people that are really changing the world, are doing dream marketing. I just never, seen like Elon Musk on really selling the cars. Like he's selling a dream. Like Jeff Bezos. These people are doing, in my eyes, now that I see it, more of dream selling, going to Mars, doing these big dream sellings. I don't know if that's the reason they're so successful. Like they're not focused much on the product per se, but on a bigger dream, and that's how they attract the biggest teams and the best teams and the best people. And
well, when you look at the Bezos and certainly Musk and others. The only reason why Musk is able to dream about going to Mars is that he dreamed a dream and he went through an earlier window and had some earlier success. Then he went to another little window, had some earlier success.
Right.
Then he had some success with his car, and that lasted a while. And he's made enough money.
But he's applying those principles you're talking about. Taking advantage of the windows of opportunity, right? Dream marketing.
Sometimes there's a series of windows that you have to go through.
Right.
And then he gets such an affluence now. He's got all this. He's got more wealth than anybody, and he can now fuel and fund SpaceX to go to Mars.
Right.
Well, he couldn't start out with the pursuing. Let's go to Mars. Well, he didn't have the resources. He had to build enough success, and the success compounded. And it goes back to that, always dream the new dream. Always keep going. And that's what I'm doing. I see a whole new window than the windows I went through before got me now to where I'm in a position in my business career to go through some windows of today. And even like we're doing podcasts here. That's a great tool to do. And you and I put together this great social media machine that we've got. Mm-hmm. And we're going to dominate social media. We want to get 1 million people out there through social media. In addition to organic marketing. So I'm kind of doing my own Elon Musk type of a mentality here in the latter part of my career, dreaming another dream. Because I've learned you got to see windows, you got to catch trends, you need to be at the beginning of something. And then be around the right people and the right things and the right resources that can bridge you there. But there's some common traits that I'll throw out here real quickly, Mauricio, is that we go back to the dream marketing. The commonalities that I saw in Amway, and then I saw when we built A.L. Williams, and then when I saw when we built the second company, World Marketing Alliance, which is now World Financial Group. By the way, A.L. Williams is now Primerica. These are big billion-dollar market cap companies that we built and sold. And now we're building the big hegemon company over here, HGI. And by the way, the word hegemon means dominance, imperial dominance in Greek. So we're looking to build dominance. So you need to have some big goal. Don't just start out with a whimper. Be bold in your dreams. Dare to dream something big. And Victor Hugo once said that there's no magic. There's no magic in small dreams. And that's what you got to do. You got to dream big. Dare to dream big. But getting back to the deal, the one thing that I had for me personally as a up and coming guy wants to be an entrepreneur, tired of a job. First of all, if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to have hunger, You got to be hungry. Something in life has got to make you real hungry. I've never seen an entrepreneur just start out, well, this is a nice business to be in. I think I'll just be in this business on the side, ho-hum. It's like a little hobby. Those things don't amount to anything. But you take somebody who's like yourself. You were a hungry guy. I was hungry because I would do anything to escape from the railroad. And so when you find that opening, man, you don't waste time. Time is so precious to you. When you feel like you've got a moment of freedom, you got to go through it. So I was a hungry guy. I had all this frustrations of several years of unsuccessful things, and that compounded. And then luckily I had found a system, a uniqueness. You need a hook or a uniqueness that separates you. Well, the one thing that separated us in financial services, and had never seen it before, was having a recruiting and building system that started selling dreams and entrepreneurship and bringing in these people who could market, who could get licensed and go by the regulations in the states and the SEC and the insurance departments, and they could market products that historically had been marketed in a different way. And we started doing those things. The regulators never seen it, the competition had never seen it, the consumers had never seen it. And boy, here we were. And we recruit 1.5 million people who didn't want to sell insurance. Most of them didn't want to buy insurance. And we sold 10 million policies. So I mean, if an idea's time has come and you're that person that's there and you strike, you go through it. We had a system. And every one of our companies has had that common thread of driven, determined dreamers. And I don't care if it's 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, today. The thing about today, there's just the demographics. There's 100 million more people in the United States today than there was when we started the A.L. Williams movement, which is the big Primerica $6-7 billion company today. Just think about it. Just the population is 100 million bigger. So the opportunity, that means that's 100 million more frustrated people who want to buy a dream, who want to be somebody. So the market for what we were doing back then is much bigger than it was when we did it. And the system that we used to go out and do all those things and revolutionize those companies and those industries and build billion-dollar market cap companies in the past, we've got it going here again. And it's not just the domain of us. Other companies out there use some variant of it, some copy of it. We've got a lot of our business children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren filtered all throughout the industry, copying. They say copying is the greatest, imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Sure.
So we know this system's working. But the principle is, even if the people don't want to do it in this industry, which I would recommend highly that they do it, because when you're marketing money products, guys, you got an advantage over people who are trying to create tangible products. You got to go get it manufactured someplace, shipped. You got to get it warehoused. You got to get it physically sold. There's a whole lot of ifs and buts in there. And I know one thing: ours is all electronic impulses. And we've just marketed for the last 40 years electronic impulses, and that's what insurance and it's money moving.
Yeah.
So when money's moving, fortunes are made. Just be in the money business, and you got a much better chance than the people that don't do it. So you got this demographic inevitability. And if you've got a good system, like we've got a good system, it's been proven. Over 2.5 million people have come through our businesses. Over 15 to 20 million clients have bought our products, and actually more than that, have bought our products. So we've got system inevitability, and then you're always going to have Washington politics inevitability. That's always going to be there.
Let me. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just is packed of value, and I think that. The subject is, hey, listen, marketing evolution throughout the last 40 years, and so I see that everything that you're talking about goes back to that dream marketing. You didn't do it with the traditional radio, TV, print, that kind of stuff, right? Which existed, right? But you didn't do it. And I want people that are listening to the podcast really understand dream marketing and maybe, power it or how do I say this? Like maybe boost it or make it part of their other efforts, because a lot of people, again, are maybe using every other way of marketing except the dream marketing, which is key in every business to sell more product, to recruit more people, to add more, bring the best talent to your team, stuff like that.
Well, you're right. We were selling dreams back when there were no smartphones. We didn't even have smart people, so we certainly didn't have smartphones. We were just starting out. We didn't have the easy graphic designs and things like that. But we were selling. It was person to person, dream to dream, heart to heart that you were doing. And it was the principles were timeless. Today, the tools just changed. The tools by which you can sell that dream, you can make things nicer looking. You can make screens like what we're doing on podcast today look nicer because you never had any of that back in those days. All we're doing is collapsing time frames by using technology. We can do things faster, bigger, better. And guys, you have to do that. It's not a casual thing anymore. You've got to be able to use use technology in your businesses today, or you won't be able to compete. Back in those eras, our technology, we'd have a couple of things here or there that nobody else had. It was our technology. I remember. Anyway, I won't go into all these things. But I'm just saying we did it. We did a lot of this back when it was just a telephone call, a land phone call to a land phone. It was go in a car to go see somebody, make a presentation, or invite somebody to come to some little central place you're having a little meeting with a few people, or get on a plane and go fly to some office that you had because it's the only way you could communicate with them. And then over the years it progressed where we could have some conference calls every once in a while. Then we were able to have some other things. And then lo and behold, years later, they invent a old Motorola brick phone out there. So I had one of those early ones, but I didn't have anybody else that had one. But we had this technology. And I remember when the guy came to my office trying to tell me what a facsimile machine was and what it was going to do. I couldn't believe what he was talking about. So I remember when faxes came in, and then when I started hearing about the internet and watching Bill Gates talk about it's going to be this, that, and the other, I jumped on it. I wasn't much I could do about it. I remember one time we were the first, the big Fidelity investment company, the largest investment company out there, was the first financial services company to have a domain name on the internet. And we went with my World Marketing Alliance company. We went and filed one, and we were the second one. Now I didn't know what to do with it, had no clue how to do it. I just knew I'd better do it. We had to do something, and lo and behold, we started growing even back in the 90s, and in the late in the early 90s, and we saw technology. You got to see it. You got to be a party to it. And when emails came out and all that good stuff. And then anyway, we've whatever the cutting edge technology was, we tried to have it. I remember back in A.L. Williams when we were starting about 5-6 years into the game, these big satellite dishes had come into vogue, and one of the companies we were doing business with had bought up this company. And so they put these big satellite dishes out about 30, 40 of our offices around the country, and we would beam out of a little studio here in Atlanta. Boom, it would go out. And we're doing this now in the mid-'80s. Nobody else in the world's doing it. Prudential's not. No company's doing any of that stuff. But we were out there communicating in these big old satellite dishes. Then we started to put little computers, these little computers in 2 or 3 of the offices, so they could come out with these little illustration comparisons that we had to have. Nobody else was doing that. So whatever technology is, use it. But just know it's just a means to an end. It's not the end. The main thing is the dream marketing that Mauricio's referring to here. Selling a dream is eternal. It's timeless. That never changes. But it's the method by which you get the dream to them. It's like prospecting. We have sort of a 6-step system in our leadership format system. Starts with prospecting. And Mauricio, whether this was a prospect that you went over and met the neighbor next door because you just moved there, or whether it's somebody you just pulled out of from your past that you knew, a friend or something, you wrote them down as a prospect. Well, now all of a sudden through social media and podcasts and all this stuff we're doing, we can just go out and reach new friends that we would never have a chance to reach and funnel them back into our business. So but it's still prospecting. It's still people who want dreams finding somebody like us who wants to offer them a dream.
Yeah.
The principle never changes.
Yeah, would you agree that obviously marketing really comes down to reaching out to somebody, building that relationship before they actually buy from you? Even if you are scratching that itch with that product that they have, I think people still buy more from the people that they connect with, the people that they like, that they know somehow. And so, I'm thinking that from the biggest movements in history, going all the way back to maybe Jesus Christ and Mahatma Gandhi and all these people were dream marketers. They were very good dream marketers to be able to amass these movements, and I'm very happy that I finally got that concept, an idea that I didn't know before, and that's the one thing that has helped me do better in everything that I'm doing by attracting the teams and the people, and that's what I want people to get of this podcast today, is that apply those things.
It gets back to timing and everything, and being prepared in this great book called The True Believer, written back in, I don't know, early 50s, and it was a very timeless book, and it talks about the making of mass movements. I love that subtitle, The Making of Mass Movements. How do big mass movements in any space start? And he referred to Gandhi in India. He referred to Churchill in England. In a negative way, he showed the negativity of mass movement of Hitler in Germany, the Nazis. I mean, whether it's a good mass movement or a bad mass movement, the principles are the same. And here's what it was: is that you gotta read the population. When there's enough frustration with the way things are, enough dissatisfaction with the way things are, there's a big enough desire for change, for something to give you a better way, or better this, or better that. People just demand it. If that builds up, and over on the other side, there are some driven, determined dreamers that are prepared. They've got systems and technologies and methods and vehicles and products and ideas. And they're sitting there prepared. At the same time, this window of change is there, and it comes together. Now you've got Gandhi is leading the Indians to their freedom and change the world. And you've got all these things. Churchill rallies all of his people and all the free world behind him to fight off from the brink of disaster. And we can go on and on. You see it in politics. You see it in sports. You see it in business. It's when the timing is right and preparation. So it's up to you guys to be looking and watching and find what's that right thing out there, or join that right thing. Because I found one of the great principles of my success is I've always been aligned with something bigger than myself, because if I'm the biggest thing I'm aligned with, I'm in trouble. Mm-hmm. You got to be followership is what you got to do. So I'm just saying right now, this mass movement that you're talking about, these success stories, it comes from, you got to see what's going on in the marketplace and see the feeling and the trend and the desire. That's why technology is all of a sudden just accelerated this last 8 or 10 or 12 years. And look what's happening. What's it been, 16, 17 years since the smartphone was even developed? How many years has it been since we would have what we social, what you would call
like social media,
social media, Facebooks, and
I don't know what 2005, 6, something like that.
Yeah, so it's still new.
Yeah,
it's still new, and now all of a sudden podcasts. I mean, 5 years ago nobody's talking about podcasts.
Right.
Now you got podcasts, and you got live streaming and this and that. So people, you see all this, and there's a demand, a growing demand. People used to not like Amazon. Why did they grow so fast? Well, they used to go to stores, used to drive there. Now there's more people ordering online and having stuff delivered to them than there are going to stores. And it doesn't take but a little bit to change. You've got to watch for that and be prepared as a leader and step into that void. And that's how success happens.
I guess the bottom line of what I'm taking is that it is timeless when it comes to inspirational marketing. dream marketing, as we're trying to communicate today, is not just 40 years ago. It helped you definitely build the largest revolution in the financial services, the largest companies ever built to date, maybe as a distribution channels. And it was all because human nature it doesn't change, right? We're always looking to go to a better place.
100 years from now, there's going to be people out there that want to be somebody they're just trying to shake free from the shackles that are holding them back in life, and they're going to look for the next opportunity. And some entrepreneurs are going to do it, and some people are going to follow them. So all you got to do is be the leader. You got to be a follower first and a leader second, and that's what I was, and that's what you got to be. You just know it's always going to be a market for dreams. It's timeless, and even though the methods of reaching people are a little different,
right?
They're still prospects. They still have to be contacted, and presentations can come in a lot of different ways now. Instead of in person, they could be done by Zoom or by some kind of webinar. They could. Anyways, it's a constancy amidst change. Some things are always constant. Some things will always be changing. But the things that got to be constant is dreamers.
Well, there you have it.
That's always in fashion.
Well, as we wrap it up, I want to take the opportunity to invite everybody again. Remember that there is an event coming up very, very shortly. It is the Conquer event, and you can register to that by going to conquerevent.com. We're going to have Hubert there. We're going to have a lot of great speakers and people that are not just talkers. They have the track record and have the moral authority to be able to share with you the things that we all need to know and learn if we truly want to be successful in life and conquer it all. So conquer.com, go there now and register. This is going to be March 26 and 27. It's a 2-day virtual event. And I also want to thank our sponsor. Without this sponsor, this podcast would not be possible. And so if you are in a situation right now where you need to make more money, you want to learn a new skill, you're not satisfied with what you are doing, you want to take a look at something that can enable you to be able to help other people solve probably, one of the biggest problems that everybody else out there has, which is financial problems. Whether you have a lot of money or not enough money, you have a lot of assets or not enough assets. Well, I think everybody needs to know how to protect their money from inflation, taxation, market volatility, fees, conflicts of interest, all these different things that erode the value of the money. Well, Hegemon Group International is in business of training people how to become those financial pros that can go out there and help people out and get paid very handsomely in return. So check them out by going to hgiopportunity.com. That is hgiopportunity.com. Listen to the entire presentation that is there, and maybe that is the opportunity that you've been waiting for or looking for, and go from where you are today financially to where you want to be. Any last words, Hubert, before we wrap it up here on this concept of marketing?
Well, I think it's been a great show talking about the timelessness of dream marketing, and that'll always be the case. And people that are selling dreams are going to always beat people that are just selling products.
I love it.
So you need to be in that business, and the Conquer event is going to show you a lot of the secrets to being an entrepreneur. Where in a way, so a lot of times just going out and being in business for yourself and by yourself, that sounds romantic, but most people fail. The real secret is to be able to join some big successful co-ops that you can come in and be an entrepreneur in business for yourself but not by yourself. We'll show you how to do that.
Well, with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, Hubert, very much, and thank everybody for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.